The National Broadcasting Company invites you by transcription to join The Chase. There is always the hunter and the hunted, the pursuer and the pursued. It may be the voice of authority, or a race with death and destruction, the most relentless of the hunters. There are times when laughter is heard as counterpoint, and moments when sheer terror is the theme. But always there is the chase. And what chase is more pressing than the well-known struggle to get ahead at any cost?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes?
You understand that I can't prepare a proper defense unless you tell me everything.
I understand.
A lawyer who does not enjoy his client's fullest confidence...
Mr. Johnson, I understand, believe me. Just tell me what you need to know.
Well...
I won't hold anything back.
All right. I want to know how you got involved in this thing. Oh, I don't mean the money angle. I can understand anyone wanting more money, but how... Well,
How
frankly...
could a small fry like me get tied up with a big man like Elliot Bonds?
I guess that's it. You were just one of the accountants there, weren't you?
Yes, just one of three.
And then, in a period of 18 months...
I was vice president of the company.
Yes.
How did it happen,
How or why, Mr. Doyle?
Yes, that's better. Why? I wanted to get ahead. I could have let it alone. I didn't have to do what I did.
That is what I am trying to get at.
I wish I could answer you, Mr. Johnson, why I did it. I guess there's one time for everybody when there's a chance to get ahead the easy way.
Yes?
Time when you've got a choice. Stay where you are, $5,500 a year for the rest of your life. Skimp, save, work your eyes out,
Or take what you want, like Elliot Barnes.
That's it.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I got that chance 18 months ago. I was wrong to take it. I know that now. And I did fight it for a while. But it looked too good, too easy. Every time I went over my account books, I realized I was on to something big. Kept saying to myself, go to the police. Tell them. It's the only honest thing to do. But I didn't go to the police. I went to Mr. Bonds' office instead.
Yes?
Mr. Bonds, I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes, please. I told your secretary it was a personal matter, but...
Mr. Doyle, the question of raises is handled by Mr. Heller. The question of working conditions is handled by
I didn't come to talk about a raise, Mr. Bonds.
Mr. Doyle, I'm due in a meeting in exactly 5 minutes.
I came to talk about the Bridgetown Supply Company.
What about the Bridgetown Supply?
I know who owns that company, Mr. Bonds, and why it was organized.
Do you?
Yes, sir. I know that the company is only a front, an empty warehouse on River Street.
I see. Go on.
I know that every contract we get from the government is padded up to 30%. Bridgetown Supply bills us for materials we never receive. $500,000 worth in the last 6 months.
Mr. Doyle.
$500,000 in the last 6 months, and $300,000 the 6 months before that. And the company is owned by your brother-in-law, Charles Dodson.
Mr. Doyle, I'm going to give you exactly 10 seconds to get out of this office, and I'm going to call Mr. Heller and tell him you're through as of now.
Oh, I don't think you will, Mr. Bonds. I think you'll call Mr. Heller and tell him that I'm to be made chief accountant at a salary of $15,000 a year.
Get out.
No, sir, I won't. I've taken all I'm going to take from you and the rest of the stuffed shirts in this organization. I've been here 10 years, Mr. Bonds, with only one raise. I'm tired of chasing that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I'm tired of being a clock-punching nobody. You're getting yours, Mr. Barnes. I want my cut.
Miss Holly, make out Mr. Doyle's paycheck.
I'll go to the police if you force me to.
The police? Never mind that, Miss Holly.
I thought you'd be reasonable, Mr. Barnes.
What proof have you got of all this?
Bills of lading. I took the entire 1948 file and had it photostated. I can prove that every building we put up for the government is only 80% equipped. The other 20 went into your pocket.
Uh-huh. You, want the job of chief accountant, Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
I believe that job pays $10,000.
Now it pays 15, Mr. Barnes.
Mr. Heller's office, please. 15.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Jim. Can you come up to my office right away? Yes. Yes, it's important. Jim, we're going to make some changes in the accounting department to take place immediately.
And they made me chief accountant at $15,000 a year. Sure, I was a crook now, just as much as Barnes and his brother-in-law. I was knee-deep in the whole crummy setup, but I didn't care. I was getting to be somebody important in the community. The Doyles were going places.
Well, I'll tell you one place they're not going, and that's the country club.
Daisy, I wish you'd try to understand. This is a matter of business.
You keep your business down at the office, Elliot. I'll run our social life the way I want it.
Daisy, I'm going to propose Doyle and his wife for membership in the club, and we're taking them to the dance tomorrow night.
Are we?
Yes, we are. And they're having dinner at our table.
Oh, how nice. Paula, darling, I want you to meet Mr. and Mrs. Doyle. Mrs. Doyle designs all her own clothes out of potato sacking. Isn't that just fabulous?
That's enough, Daisy.
Oh, no, it's not. If you think I'm going to make a fool of myself to promote some sleazy business scheme, you're wrong. You've always used my position, Elliot.
Shut
this
up.
is one time...
Shut up, do you hear me?
Elliot.
You and your position.
Elliot, you can't talk to me like that.
Who do you think makes your position? I do. My money, my sleazy business schemes. That's what puts you where you are.
I've got a headache, Elliot. I'm going to lie down.
You can lie down as soon as you've called the club and made reservations.
And if I refuse...
Then you'd better tell your brother Charlie to take a trip to South America.
What?
Doyle knows all about the Bridgetown Supply Company, Daisy. He has photostats of the files. He knows the tie-up between Charlie and me.
Elliot.
That's why I made him chief accountant.
He knows about Charlie.
And me. He could send both of us to jail.
But how is
I don't know. I thought we had everything covered. Jim Heller says Doyle used to work late nights. I guess that's how he got to the files.
Oh, Elliot, that's awful.
Yes, it's a mess, all right. But luckily, Doyle won't talk as long as we play ball with him.
Play ball?
Uh-huh.
You mean as long as you consent to blackmail?
Call it whatever you want.
Oh, isn't there any other way?
No.
You're sure?
Positive. Charlie and I have gone over it from every angle.
All right, Elliot. I'll make the reservations for tomorrow night.
Thanks, Daisy. I knew I could count on you when it came to a pinch.
And 6 months after that, the treasurer of the company left to take another job. And I forced Barnes into giving me the position. Oh, I was riding high, all right. New house in Crestwood Park, Cadillac convertible, just like Barnes was driving. And my wife was taking golfing lessons at the country club. It was a perfect setup, and I thought it could go on like that forever.
John Cooper, Inspection Division. Yeah, that's right. The Army specified copper leaders on that job, and the contractor tried to put in galvanized iron. One of our inspectors caught it, so it's okay now. Yes. Right, I'll be in touch with you. Ask Sam Davidson to come in.
Hello, Chief. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Sam. How's the FBI in Washington?
Just fine, sir. What's the job here?
A little chisel. Did Mr. Andrews tell you anything about this?
No. He just said to work with you. He did tell us it had to do with some construction work over at the Navy Air Base.
That's right, the Post Henry base. The Elliott Barnes organization has the contract to build the runways. One of our field men says the Navy is getting shortchanged on the deal.
That's a pretty serious charge.
Yes. The trouble is, the job's already completed. Runways are down and it would cost a fortune to tear them up and prove that what our field man suspects.
What's that, sir?
Well, here are the contract specifications for the job. We can go through them later. The point is that these runways are built on wet ground, and the contract calls for a complete drainage system underneath. Now, we believe that only about 3/4 of that system was actually installed.
But you can't prove it.
No, the last big rainstorm gave us the idea, but it might take 6 months or a year before the cement would begin to go and confirm our guess.
But you've still got to investigate.
Uh-huh.
Any ideas?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to tell you your business.
I'm not afraid to learn something new.
Now, this is only a suggestion, but the way I'd tackle it would be from the supplier's angle. The contract called for a certain number of feet of drain tile.
We find out if the tile actually arrived at the job.
Well, it's only a suggestion.
It's a darn good one, sir. We'll hit it 2 ways. On that job and inside the Elliott Barnes organization.
Well, that's the way I do it. Of course, it won't be easy getting inside the barn setup.
You leave that to us.
Okay, I will.
We'll get in, don't worry.
I bet you will at that. Once you do, I think you're going to uncover plenty.
I hope so.
I'm sure of it, Sam. We found out one thing in this department that's almost a rule. If a contractor chisels on one job, he's pretty sure to be trying it on another.
And I knew that Barnes was cheating on every contract, but it didn't make any difference. My chase was bright, and I was getting my share. Then one night, after I'd been treasurer for almost a year, I came home with the biggest news of all.
That you, Matt?
Uh-huh.
Wherever have you been? It's almost 8 o'clock and dinner's practically spoiled.
Is it? That's fine. Give dinner to the cat. We're going out.
Why, Matthew, the girl cooked your favorite dish. Oh, Matt, put me down. What is the world's the matter with you?
Nothing, Ella. Not a single solitary thing.
Matt, you've been drinking.
I have, my dear, 2 sidecars with my employer and friend, Mr. Barnes.
Matt.
With my benefactor, Mr. Barnes. And I'll have you know it's Elliot and Matt from here on in.
Really, Matt?
Yes. And you're going to call Mrs. Barnes Daisy. No more of this formal stuff at the club.
Well, for goodness sake, when did all of this happen? I don't...
Oh, you haven't heard the half of it. Here you are, my love. My new business card.
What?
My business card. Read what it says.
Huh?
Read it. Out loud.
Oh, Matthew.
Read it.
But I can't really...
Ella.
Mr. Matthew Evans Doyle, Vice President. Oh, Matt. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
Oh, it's all right. You don't have to bawl.
I knew it would happen, but I just can't believe it. That's all.
Well, it's true. It'll be in all the trade papers tomorrow.
Matthew Doyle, Vice President. Oh, Matt, there's nobody that deserves it more.
Oh, no. Wait, darling. There's no use of going overboard.
You worked so hard, Matt. I knew they'd have to put you on top.
Okay, I'm a great guy. Now let's go out to dinner.
You are, Matt. The greatest guy I know.
All right, Ella.
Maybe I don't always tell you so, but
Sure, you tell me all the time, and I don't deserve it. Oh, here, use this.
I'm very happy, Matt.
Are you?
Very. I'm Mrs. Matthew Doyle.
Wife of the vice president.
Matt,
Yeah?
you wouldn't be joking, would you? It is true.
The truest thing you ever heard, Mrs. Doyle. And it's not over yet.
I'm satisfied.
Sure, you are, but not me. Took me a long time to find out how to get ahead in this game. But I've got the idea now. I'm going to the top of the pile, the very top, Ella, and nobody can stop me. Just you wait and see.
And all this time, Mr. Doyle, the Barnes organization continued its illegal padding on government contracts.
Yep, it did.
And you knew about this?
Yep. I guess there's no use denying it when we get in court, is there?
We'll talk about your defense later. You were made vice president, and then what happened?
Well, everything went fine for a while. I worked harder than I'd ever worked before, but I didn't mind because I was somebody important. They were talking about me in the trade papers, how I'd made such a sudden rise. And ever so often, Ella and I even got in the social column. But it didn't last long. All of a sudden, something happened that none of us could foresee. Right out of the sky and in our laps. And there was no way we could cover. You wanted to see me, Elliot?
Yes. Sit down, Matt. You know my brother-in-law, Charlie Dodson.
Oh, sure. How are you, Charlie?
I'm lousy. Come on, Elliot. Get this over.
All right, Charlie. Matt, we've got bad news. For all of us. I called you in here so you'd know where you stand and what you're to do.
What's the trouble, Elliot?
You read about that Navy bomber that came in for a belly landing at the Port Henry base yesterday?
Yes, I did. My paper said it was quite a job of piloting. Nobody hurt, was there?
Nobody but us.
Huh?
Nobody was hurt but you and Elliot and me.
The bomber ripped open about 50 yards of the north runway, Matt.
Just across the area where we were supposed to have put a drainway.
The north runway.
Uh-huh. Captain Collins, chief of maintenance, was in here just a few minutes ago. The Navy is starting to ask questions.
Oh, well, what do we do, Elliot?
What we've got to do is find some way to explain the lack of a drainage system.
Couldn't we blame it on one of our engineers? Say that he read his specifications wrong?
Don't be a fool. We're dealing with the government.
Maybe we better get out of the country, Elliot. We went to South America or Mexico.
Sit down, Matt. You're getting excited.
Sure, I'm getting excited. Why wouldn't I be?
Sit down.
Look, Elliot, why don't we burn up Charlie's warehouse, have an accidental fire, and get rid of all the bills of lading from Bridgetown Supply?
Charlie.
Yes.
I think Matt's too upset to talk right now.
I'm not too upset. I'm just trying to find some way out instead of sitting here and doing nothing.
All right, Matt. We'll talk later in the day when you've had a chance to think this over.
I am thinking right now.
Don't raise your voice, please. It's unbecoming in an executive.
But
We'll have another meeting at 3 this afternoon, Matt.
I told you he'd go off the handle.
You were right.
Yeah, he's scared to death.
Uh-huh.
We've got to shut him up somehow, Elliot. With a smart lawyer like Gordon, you and I could beat this thing. With a fighting fool like Doyle tagging along,
Yeah, I know.
We'd better work fast, Elliot.
Yes. I thought maybe we could take a chance on him, but I guess we'd better not.
Of course, if he did skip out of the country, we might pin the whole thing on him.
Huh? Oh, no, that isn't practical.
Well?
I've got something in mind if we get in a tight corner, Charlie. It's pretty drastic. It would take a lot of nerve.
What?
Charlie, have you got nerve?
I don't intend to spend the next 10 years in jail.
How far would you go to stay out?
As far as you will, Elliot.
All right, just let it ride for the present. We may not have to do anything about Doyle, but if we do, I think I know how to handle it.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. There was no one to turn to. Elliot didn't seem to have any plan, and the Navy inspectors were asking more and more questions. Then the whole thing collapsed all at once. The FBI came into the picture.
Matt, this is Agent Sam Davidson of the FBI.
Oh, how do you
Mr.
do?
Doyle.
How do you do, Mr. Doyle?
The government is making a check on our construction work at the air base. Mr. Davidson's going to ask you a few questions, man.
Oh, yes, of course. Anything I can do to help? We aren't under arrest, are we?
Matt, of course not.
Oh, I'm sorry. All I meant
No
to say...
one is under arrest, and no charges have been made yet, Mr. Doyle. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to.
Oh, just one thing, Matt. Mr. Davidson says that one of their agents has been working here in our office for the past few months.
We know a good deal about this organization, Mr. Doyle. We tell you this so that you can avoid any replies that might be at variance with the facts.
Oh, yes. Yes, I see.
I'll talk to Mr. Doyle alone, Mr. Barnes.
Oh, of course. Matt,
Yes.
you heard what Mr. Davidson said. No charges have been made yet, and I'm sure that none will be. The government is going to give us a clean bill when the investigation is over, Matt, so don't be nervous about anything.
Yes, Elliot, I understand.
Good. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Drop into my office when you're through, Mr. Davidson.
I will, Mr. Barnes.
Well, won't you sit down, Mr. Davidson?
Thanks.
No calls for the next hour, Miss Rudley. I'm in a very important meeting. All right, Mr. Davidson, I'm ready.
Hello?
Hello, Charlie. This is Elliot. You better come over here right away to my house. Remember what I told you? Well, I think we're in that tight corner right now.
But, Elliot, how did you find out?
How do I always find out? Money. His secretary wants a new fur coat. All she had to do was hold down the key on the intercom. Here's a transcript of the whole conversation.
You're very clever, Elliot.
Thank you, Daisy. And so is Doyle. He's still trying to get ahead at any cost. Just read that thing, Charlie. He's trying to make a deal with the government. He'll tell what he knows in return for immunity.
He wouldn't dare.
Oh, wouldn't he?
It seems to me, Elliot, that he's involved as much as you or Charlie.
Well, of course he is, but we'd never be able to prove it. He'll accept a small portion of the guilt, sure. And he'll throw us to the wolves.
What a sneaky little character.
Can't you do anything about it,
I
Elliot?
think I can, Daisy. That's what Charlie is here for. Suppose you go and mix a couple of highballs while Charlie and I talk.
Of course. A double for you. And Charlie?
Yes, thanks, Daisy. With water.
I know.
Oh.
Charlie, is your boat still in commission?
My boat?
Yeah.
Sure, it's over at the yacht basin. I won't take it out of the water for another 2 weeks.
Good. I'm going to invite Doyle on a fishing trip with you and me.
What?
A fishing trip. I'm going to tell him we all need a little vacation while this investigation is going on. 2 or 3 days on the water will do us all good. He's enough of a snob to go in your boat anytime.
I don't understand, Elliot.
You remember last week I asked you if you had nerve?
Yes, I remember.
Have you got nerve enough to let your boat catch on fire?
What?
I've been down to the beach with Doyle, Charlie. He can't swim more than 10 yards.
Elliot.
I know, I don't like it any more than you do, but what can we do?
No. You got me out of
You
this.
said you didn't want to spend 10 years in jail, Charlie.
I couldn't, Elliot. It's too cold-blooded.
All right, then we'll just have to face the music. He's going to blab the whole story to the FBI.
There must be some other
There isn't,
way.
believe me. It's him or us, and we haven't got time to waste, Charlie. It's either him or us.
Well, have you decided anything?
I don't know, Daisy. Have we decided anything, Charlie?
I don't know either, Elliot. I'll have to think it over.
And when they invited me on the fishing trip, I decided I'd better go. Elliot said he wanted to talk over our plans for heading off the investigation, and we'd be better off where no one could possibly hear us. We left the Westport Yacht Basin on Friday afternoon, heading for the fishing grounds off Cape Harrington.
Well,
Elliot, I don't like this.
I didn't ask if you liked it. Did you fix up the forward hull?
Yes.
You soaked the rags in gasoline?
Now, listen, Elliot, there must be some other way.
There isn't. Wait a minute, I cut this motor. Now, Charlie, I'm tired of watching you shake.
Oh.
Can you make it from here to the shore?
Elliot, maybe if we told
Don't
Matt...
be a fool, Charlie. Nobody'll ever know what happened. The boat caught on fire. We tried to rescue him, but we couldn't. It's the only way out.
I know.
He asked for this, didn't he? He's been blackmailing us for a year and a half.
All right, but I'm saying...
What?
He's coming up.
Okay. If you lose your nerve now...
Don't do it, Elliot. I'm asking you for the last time.
Hey, Skipper. Oh, what's happening? Are we dropping anchor here?
Yes, we understand there are sea bass off these shoals.
Well, good. I'll break out the tackle. What kind of hooks, Elliot? When I was a kid, we used to use... what's the matter, Charlie? Do I look funny or something?
Never mind the tackle, Matt. We won't need it.
Huh?
We won't need the tackle.
What? But I thought... Charlie,
Yes, Matt?
what's wrong?
I'll tell you what's wrong, Matt. You're wrong. You're just about the rottenest little conniver I've ever dealt with.
Oh, come off it, Elliot. Well, what's the joke?
This is a joke. This transcript of the conversation between you and that FBI man on Monday morning.
What?
You were going to make a deal with the government, weren't you?
No, of course not. You're jumping to conclusions.
Am I?
I wasn't making a deal, Elliot. I was just trying to fix up something for all three of us.
Sure, I'm quite sure you were trying to fix up something.
But you gotta believe me, I wouldn't turn state's evidence.
You won't have a chance to.
Elliot.
Matt, we're having an accident. The boat is going to catch on fire.
What?
Charlie is going below to set it off in about 1 minute. A very unfortunate accident. Happens all the time on pleasure cruises like this. You can't swim, can you, Matt?
You wouldn't go that far.
You don't know me. I'd get rid of you as easily as I would a sneak thief that broke into my house. All right, Charlie, go ahead. Charlie, do what I say.
No, Elliot, I'm not going to do it.
Charlie.
Not for you, you cheap chiseler. I'm not going to commit murder, that's all.
All right, Charlie, I'll take care of it myself.
I'm not going to let you, Elliot.
Take your hand off that door.
No.
I'm warning you, Charlie.
No.
All right, you stupid
Fool.
No. I'll handle it myself. You understand? I'll do it myself.
No.
Matt, there's a gun in that locker. I'm not spending the rest of my life in jail. Do you hear me?
Matt! I've got it, Charlie.
You hear me, Charlie?
Elliot, let him go or I'll shoot.
Charlie, do you...
Elliot, let him go. Oh, Elliot, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pull the trigger. It just went off.
Your aim is as lousy as you are.
Give me that, Matt. All right, Elliot. We'll head back to Westport.
You're making a big mistake, Charlie.
I suppose I am.
They'll give us all 10 years, Charlie, maybe 20.
That's better than the chair. Matt, take the wheel. Head back to Westport.
All right, Charlie. All right, I've got the wheel.
Yeah, Matt. You've got the wheel, all right. Ah, you wanted to get to the top. And here you are. Isn't it wonderful, Matt? Here you are, at the wheel of the president's yacht, steering us all into prison.
In the animal world, there is the hunter and the hunted, hound and fox, hawk and sparrow, chicken and worm. But who is to judge precisely which is the pursuer or the pursued as we enter the chase? The Chase was created for the National Broadcasting Company by Lawrence Clee. This script was written by Jack Fink. Heard in the cast were John McGovern, Paul McGrath, Sylvia Davis, Natalie Priest, William Keane, and Louis Van Ruten. The Chase is directed and transcribed by Fred Way. Fred Collins speaking. Next week, a strange concoction known as Tiger Lily transforms a mouse into a lion on The Chase.
This afternoon, it's Adventure with Counter Spy on NBC.